this. 2-3 times in 2 weeks. We're lucky to see each other.
Ukraine is piling up the pressure on floundering 53-year-old Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is already tipped to resign at any moment. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is demanding that Trudeau ratchets up the sanctions against Russia and makes good on his promises to defend Ukraine against annihilation. But once again, Justin Trudeau is letting himself, his own people, and the whole world down.
Very strong op-ed message to Donald Trump. Mr. Angus, what's that message?
This message is for my fellow Canadian parliamentarians to get their act together. What we're looking at right now, coming out of, as Mar-a-Lago moves to Washington, we're watching a grifter's parade. We've got loser billionaires like Kevin O'Leary coming down and to talk to Trump and saying he's going to cut a deal to sell out Canada. We got losers on Fox talking about taking over making us the 51st state. We all know what that's about. This is all about diversion. Donald is coming in at a time that he's going to bring maximum chaos, maximum havoc to the American people. So he's looking for a punching bag, and there's this nice, quiet Canadian neighbors that they're threatening they're going to take over. He's going to steal all our water, maybe come and take the chickens out of the backyard as well. I don't know. But the thing is, Donald, it's not going to work.
Support for Prime Minister Trudeau and his Liberal Party is at its lowest ebb. Polls show the Liberals trailing the Conservative Party by around 20 points. Incoming President Trump has openly mocked Canada, calling it the 51st state, and promised to impose trade tariffs that will surely impoverish millions of Canadians. Trump has also blamed Canada for escalating illegal immigration, so Trudeau's budget includes a boost of $600 million Canadian dollars to border security spending. Trudeau's liberal policies are in ruins. On top of all this, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has issued a bold and unprecedented warning to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Stay tuned as we unravel the details of this shocking confrontation and what it could mean for both beleaguered nations moving forward. President Zelensky, who has long relied on international support from Western nations in Ukraine's fight against Russia, has now aimed his rhetoric directly at Canada. During a high-profile address to the United Nations, Zelensky made a pointed and direct warning to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The message? Simply put, he issued a final ultimatum demanding that Canada step up its commitments to Ukraine's defense or face serious humanitarian consequences.
Can you imagine when you call your friends, your friendly nation, and you ask, please close the sky, close the airspace, please stop the bombing. How many more cruise missiles have to fall on our cities until you make this happen? And in return, they express their deep concerns about the situation. When we talk with our partners, and they say, please hold on a little longer.
Zelensky's demand for greater military aid, financial support, and political backing from Canada has taken many by surprise. Up until this moment, Canada had been one of Ukraine's staunchest allies, with Prime Minister Trudeau voicing strong support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. However, Zelensky's latest remarks suggest that the Ukrainian leadership is growing increasingly frustrated with the pace of international assistance.
You can see that our cities like Kharkiv, Mariupol, and many other cities are not protected just like your cities are protected, Edmonton, Vancouver. You can see that Kyiv is being shelled and bombed, Ivano-Frankivsk. It used to be, we were a very peaceful country, peaceful cities, but now they're being constantly bombarded. Basically, what I'm trying to say that you all need to do more to stop Russia, to protect Ukraine, and by doing that, to protect Europe from Russian threat.
For those unfamiliar with the context, Zelensky's speech came on the heels of a series of international summits where Ukraine's needs were prominently discussed. Western allies, including Canada, have provided billions in aid, military equipment, and humanitarian support. But Zelensky's recent tone suggests that, for him and his government, this support is now being viewed as insufficient in the face of Russia's relentless aggression.
It is genocide. What Russian occupiers are doing to Ukraine. Never enough only to choose the right side. You also need to be able to be a leader on the side, and you do. You are a leader.
So, why this sudden shift? Why now, and why Trudeau? To understand the gravity of Zelensky's statement, we need to look deeper into the evolving dynamics of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and the role Canada has played. Canada under Trudeau has long prided itself on being a vocal supporter of Ukraine, sending significant military aid and standing firm in imposing sanctions on Russia. But as the war drags on with no clear end in sight, there is growing concern in Kyiv that Western powers, including Canada, may be losing the political will to continue escalating their support. Trudeau has also been criticized for advocating the use of long-range missiles against Russia, thereby threatening Russia's sovereignty. Russia, in turn, has threatened to retaliate with nuclear weapons that could destroy our world. Who gave Trudeau and his allies in the US the right to kill us all?
We wanted very much to use this weapon and just to attack these jets on the military bases, not civilians infrastructure, military base.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking with CNN today about his desire to use long-range weapons, saying targets would be Russian airfields, missile launchers, fuel tanks, and ammunition depots.
And these bombs and missiles are hitting Ukrainian civilians,
Schools,
energies,
universities, all our energy infrastructure, they destroyed 80%.
It's important to note that Ukraine's needs are escalating. The war has now entered its third year, and the economic and military toll is mounting. Ukraine has been forced to push for not just weapons, but long-term strategic commitments from its allies. These demands are no longer just about getting arms to the front lines. They are about securing a future that ensures Ukraine's sovereignty in the face of a much larger and more powerful neighbor. Additionally, internal political pressures in both Ukraine and Canada play a role. In Ukraine, there are mounting concerns about dwindling public support for the war as the conflict drags on. For President Zelensky, this means he must show tangible results from the international community's support to maintain his credibility both domestically and internationally.
Сегодня я инициировал телефонный разговор с президентом Российской Федерации. Результат – тишина. Хотя тишина должна быть на Донбассе. Поэтому сегодня я хочу обратиться ко всем гражданам России. Не как президент. Я обращаюсь к российским гражданам как гражданин Украины. С вами нас разделяет более 2000 километров общей границы. Вдоль нее сегодня стоят ваши войска, почти 200 тысяч солдат, тысячи боевых машин. Ваше руководство одобрило их шаг вперед на территорию другой страны. И этот шаг может стать началом большой войны на европейском континенте. Мы точно знаем, нам не нужна война, не холодная, не горячая, не гибридная. Но если на нас будут наступать войска, если у нас попытаются отнять нашу страну, нашу свободу, наши жизни, жизни наших детей, мы будем защищаться. Не наступать, защищаться. Наступая, вы будете видеть наши лица. Не наши спины, наши лица.
On the Canadian side, Prime Minister Trudeau faces a delicate balancing act. His government is under increasing pressure from various domestic constituencies, including those concerned about the financial burden of continued military support and those who question the strategic goals of Canada's involvement in the war. With an eye on the upcoming federal elections, Trudeau cannot afford to alienate voters who may feel fatigued by the prolonged conflict in Ukraine. Zelensky's warning to Trudeau has placed the Canadian Prime Minister in a precarious position. While Trudeau has always positioned himself as a strong defender of Ukraine, the latest demand from Zelensky threatens to alienate a significant portion of the Canadian electorate, who are increasingly questioning the cost of involvement in this conflict. Trudeau's decision to support Ukraine from the onset was largely seen as a moral stance, in line with Canada's long-standing commitment to human rights and international law. However, as the war has entered its third year, the domestic debate over Canada's role has intensified. The costs, both financial and political, are becoming harder to ignore.
Many in any other countries that this attack on Ukraine, it's their attempt to annihilate Ukrainian people, and there is nothing else to it. This is their main objective. It's actually the war against Ukrainian people. And it's an attempt to destroy everything that we as Ukrainians do. It's an attempt to destroy our future, to destroy our nation, our character. You Canadians, you know very well all this. That's why I'm asking you, please do not stop in your efforts. Please expand your efforts.
In this context, Zelensky's final warning carries substantial weight. While Canada's support for Ukraine has been unwavering to this point, there are limits to what any government can do, especially in the face of rising domestic opposition. The possibility of further escalation, especially in terms of military support or sending Canadian troops, could cause a significant rift between Trudeau and the growing faction of Canadian voters who are skeptical of continuing the involvement.
Ukrainians woke up to the horror of war in their... Hey, sir, I think Ukrainians can tell you a little bit about freedom and liberty, so why don't you settle down? This is a night for them, not for you. This is a night for Ukrainians, not for you. If you want to stand and cheer with Ukraine, do that. You want to wave that Ukrainian flag, please do. But let people celebrate that Ukraine is still standing and Canada stands with it.
Moreover, Trudeau's critics have already been quick to point out that while Canada has been a vocal advocate for Ukraine on the world stage, the country's contributions in terms of military support have paled in comparison to those of other NATO members, particularly the United States and the United Kingdom. This disparity may have contributed to Zelensky's growing frustration as he calls on all Western allies to do more. Zelensky's final warning is open to interpretation, but it is clear that he is demanding more than just a symbolic show of solidarity. So what exactly is Ukraine asking for from Canada? Zelensky's latest statements suggest that Ukraine is looking for more advanced and heavy weaponry, including fighter jets, air defense systems, and additional tanks. The need for cutting-edge technology is growing as Russia increasingly deploys more sophisticated weaponry in its offensive operations.
Чим більше і чим швидше ми отримаємо всю зброю, яку запросили, тим сильніші будуть наші позиції, тим скоріше буде мир.
Ukraine's economy has been devastated by the war, and while international financial support has been forthcoming, the costs are astronomical. Zelensky may be asking for greater financial aid to sustain both the military effort and essential civilian infrastructure. Beyond military and financial contributions, Ukraine is looking for a stronger diplomatic push from Canada on the global stage. This could involve more vocal condemnation of Russia, stronger sanctions, and lobbying other nations to step up their own support. Long-term strategic commitments. Ukraine is not just asking for immediate help, it is seeking long-term guarantees from its allies, including Canada, that they will be there for the long haul. This could involve commitments to post-war reconstruction, military training, and even potential integration into Western institutions like NATO.
Що стосується санкцій. Дивіться, я сьогодні розмовляв з партнерами на саміті, я їм наводив приклад тіньового флоту Російської Федерації, який йде водами країн Європейського Союзу, країн НАТО, російський тіньовий флот, який заробляє 11-12 мільярдів доларів на місяць. Множимо на 12 місяців, а потім ще 12 місяців. І я вас прошу тільки це порівняти, всі ці гроші порівняйте з тим, скільки Україна отримала допомоги.
Zelensky's warning suggests that these requests are no longer negotiable. With the war dragging on, Ukraine is running out of time and patience. It is looking for its allies to step up in a more significant way or risk losing their influence in shaping Ukraine's future. If Prime Minister Trudeau fails to meet Zelensky's demands, the international fallout could be significant. This breakdown in relations between Canada and Ukraine would have ripple effects far beyond just the two countries involved. Failing to meet Ukraine's demands could harm Canada's global credibility and embolden adversaries like Russia and China. For Ukraine, a loss of Canadian support could weaken morale and raise doubts about Western commitment. It could also give Russia an opening to exploit divisions within NATO, shifting the balance of power in Eastern Europe. Despite Zelensky's warning, Canada-Ukraine relations are not doomed. Both sides have diplomatic options to ease tensions. Trudeau must balance continued support for Ukraine with domestic concerns, while Zelensky should manage expectations to avoid alienating allies. The future of the alliance hinges on dialogue, mutual respect, and understanding. The next few months are critical in determining if this is a temporary setback or a deeper shift. This grim warning could also spell the end of Liberal Party rule in Canada. Has Prime Minister Justin Trudeau broken one promise too many?